Friendship supreme. Friendship supreme. Finding the geek within.
Hi everybody, I'm Michael.
This is Kleve.
And this is
Friendship Supreme.
And we're the podcast that dares to ask, is anybody really subscribing to the DC Universe streaming service? No. And while you're thinking about that, let us know what your thoughts are at friendship.supreme@gmail.com. So, we thought we'd start off the episode and the whole series by introducing ourselves and giving you a little bit of knowledge about us. So I'm Michael and this is Kleve, and we've been friends for, 6 years now?
October 21st, 2013.
October 21st, 2013. So, 5.5.
Feels like just yesterday, man.
Well, yeah. We both work together, so it makes it easy. We're also best friends with Stephanie, who's behind
Say hi,
the camera.
Stephanie.
Say hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
You'll never get to see her face, except for in the intro, every time you watch an episode. So, you know.
Yeah.
She's actually a mermaid.
Good luck picking out the mermaid.
But we all started at work together. We work for an airline, which allows us the ability to travel.
And it kind of helped us unite. It's not united.
And we live sort of near the southwestern part of the state.
It's also not Southwest.
It's not southwest. Nor is my geography, or my knowledge of Texas geography is real off.
You just fly in and out of DFW. That's all I know.
That's all I know. DFW is where I go. But we're coming to you from Texas.
I don't know what you wanted me to do.
The Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yeah. These are resident Texan. Stephanie's not from Texas, and neither am I. And you'll hear about it often from me. Because California's better.
In a way of, I have too much money, where can I spend it?
Californians have too much money.
California's have too much money?
Yeah.
Did you not know that?
Hold on a second, guys. The homeless population in California is ginormous.
But it's because they keep giving the money to the other people.
No, I think it's the meth. It's usually the meth, guys.
That's where all the money goes. I don't have money for meth.
I'm not a meth dealer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't legally have to say that.
I think you know a guy.
So we traveled all over the country to find all the coolest, nerdiest, geekiest things and thought we'd bring them to you. Kleve, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
My name is Kleve.
Alright, and on to the show.
If you want to know more about me, watch the podcast.
Super mysterious. There's not much to know about him. His middle name's Alexis.
Good try. It's your middle name for the rest of your life. I'm gonna pay to get it changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to have me sign legal documents.
I can fake your name. For sure.
Yeah, probably. It's just a bunch of scribble.
I know it is.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, so that's a little bit about us, and I'm sure you'll get to know us more. Stephanie, anything about you?
Stephanie has 16 cats.
She
Not. I
She
have
does,
2.
actually. All 16. They generally follow her. We'll go ahead and jump into today's episode, where we're going to discuss both the DCEU, the DC extended unit. What does DC stand for? How am I not remembering this?
Domestic currency.
District of Columbia.
It doesn't stand. Well, I mean, it stands for both of those in a different capacity.
Man, too bad we don't have someone who could look up real quick what DC stands for and let us know.
Yeah, well, Stephanie's looking at the DC Extended Universe because they don't want to be the DCU because... Dick you? I don't know.
Is that what you got from that?
Why else do you have to say that we're not the...
Because I would assume that they didn't want to completely mirror MCU.
I mean, they could only hope to have mirrored MCU.
Well, and that's what we're going to get into.
Yeah, this is what we're going to get into. And we're going to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is MCU. Marvel stands for Marvel.
Detective Comics.
Ah, Detective Comics. That makes...
Perfect sense.
Duh. Yes, that makes...
Detective Comics. comics.
For all of you out there that know comic books better than I do, I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? If you did a better job, then I would know what you stood for. I know what MCU stands for easily.
It makes so much more sense though now that I think about it, because of Detective Comics and Batman and Superman came out in Detective
That's
Comics.
why I didn't think nothing of it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Something else.
Pinch your tongue.
Yeah.
don't pat yourself on the back too hard. Episode 1. Let's take it easy.
Something I will tell you guys is that Kleve and I boast about being jacks of all trade. We are masters of none of them.
You know Bruce Lee's quote where he's like, I don't fear someone who has learned 10,000 kicks one time, but someone who's learned one kick 10,000 times? We're the person who knows 10,000 kicks.
He's not afraid of us. Bruce Lee's in his grave laughing at us right now.
Yeah, we know a lot of things and bits of it.
Yeah, and we're here to piece them all together.
And learn with us.
Yeah. You guys get to be our best friends.
I felt like we weren't moving enough.
No, it was good. We're used to not being on camera, by the way. So if we ever look awkward, that's why. My mom always told me I had a voice for radio, or a face for radio. Yeah.
I was going to take another shot, but I'll hold it in.
And a body for radio? Yeah. My mom always told me that I had a body for radio, so, whatever that means.
You know exactly what that means.
Dang!
Haymaker from downtown.
Well, when you're not on camera, you can't make fun of people on the camera. That's the rule, I think. Anyways, that was hurtful. So, I think the first question I kind of wanted to pose to Kleve and to the audience out there is, do you think that the DC, or Detective Comics, Extended Universe, and the MCU have a positive or negative impact on the comic book industry?
You got the first one?
No, go ahead.
I feel like positive, because there's way more, I guess I can't call them comic fans, but Marvel fans, than there were at the beginning of 2008 when Robert Downey Jr. decided to put on an armor suit.
And play the alcoholic superstar that he already is in
Yeah.
real life.
And then you think about the fact that you got characters like Phil Coulson, who wasn't in comics until,
And influence.
and you know what I mean? And
Real fun tidbit, by the way. And Kleve brought this up when it happened. Coulson in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was never an actual character, but people loved him so much that they forced him into the comic book series.
yep,
Nice.
there's one of those little things.
So then my question to you is you're talking about Marvel in a whole, but I would actually argue the other way, that it's damaging the media outlet of comics, because while yes, people are excited about comic book characters, they're not out there buying comics. And I guess that's kind of my question, and the question that I've been asking random people at work, because that's what I do to figure out if a question's a good question or not, is in watching a Marvel film, did it make you want to go read the comic book or learn more about the character?
I think it did for me, but I was already
And I would-
a comic fan.
Right, and I would tell you that you and I are special in that way, because we've talked about this before. When Guardians of the Galaxy came out, by the way, greatest marketing job ever of Disney that I've ever seen, because they took B Squad, C Squad even, people that nobody knew and said,
And
hey, this
hits
is
from the 70s and 80s.
great. Yeah.
And made it one of the top selling soundtracks. I think not all the songs, but obviously because you can only have so many number ones. But I think all the songs on iTunes went up in downloads when the soundtrack dropped.
For terms for the kids out there to understand, they were all bangers.
I don't know where to go with that.
But anyways, when that movie came out, you and I both were like, well, let's obviously go buy the comic books and read and figure out where these characters came from and understand them better. I don't think most people have that same drive, and that was kind of my curiosity. My wife in particular, not a comic book fan at all, never has been. I've tried to push her in that direction many times by grabbing stories I thought she'd be interested in, and she reads 2 or 3 comics and then is done with them. I would tell you she loved the Marvel movies, but no interest in reading the comics. So I feel like it's almost done a disservice in that the original content is being, the fan base from that is being pulled away, or potential fan base is being pulled away into the movie medium, in the same sense that I won't ever read a book, but I love watching the movies of them.
I mean, I think you should read a book at some point.
I mean, I did when I was in school.
That's true. I'm done with that. I'm not going to pay to read a book.
Right, now I have comics, so...
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the intention of them to sell more comics. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely, yeah, because I think Disney has outright said they have no interest in the comic book industry. Like, they want nothing to do with it.
Right.
They've allowed Marvel themselves to continue to operate and manage how that goes.
Right.
And they've just said, stay within the lines that Disney's now given you. So, it feels like they're taking from, let's say, the forefathers of that particular, other than Stan Lee, the one individual that somehow has transcended above that.
Yeah.
But they've taken from the forefathers of comic books and said, to hell with you. Now, how many people know who Jim Lee is?
Take it easy, Stan.
Yeah. 1-up for Stan.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's hard, though, because do you not think that when one of these people created these characters, that this is essentially what they wanted?
Was to progress to this point.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously these characters have, again, have transcended to a whole new level of, I mean, it's certainly the people that came up with Guardians of the Galaxy are just jumping for joy at this point.
I'm sure Chris Pratt really appreciates the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I meant more the people that created the characters, but yeah, no, even the actors, I mean, it's catapulted their careers.
Because what was Chris Pratt doing before that? It was only Parks and Rec. That was it.
Yeah, because he had to stop Parks and Rec before. That's why he went to London and Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that's also why there were. I don't know if you remember that episode where he was like, "So you just stopped drinking beer? That's how you lost all that weight?" He's like, "Yeah, just like it was like one blurb of a line, and then that's how we addressed him dropping drastic weight."
Yeah, Disney real serious about their meeting your character roles. Yeah, so I mean, it does catapult their careers, and obviously, people like you said, people like Chris Pratt are super excited. Chadwick Boseman, he was already doing some pretty big things. Jackie Robinson, but
yeah,
still, I mean, he's talked about to this day how big of an impact that particular movie had on him, and there's a lot of actors that have said how great that movie was and how cool it was to see that kind of. Push that envelope and kind of push the...
It was. Well, I won't get into that because...
That could be a whole other episode.
Well, that and people get real aggressive about the whole... It wasn't that great, everybody's overhyping it, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, there's different opinions on it. Yeah. I'm sure we'll touch up on that at some
point.
Some
of them are dumb. But anyway.
But anyways, we'll keep it more broad right now. But, so, it's a question of, are you killing the original material... And if we lose comic books, do we lose more characters? Or at this point, have we already established enough core characters that it doesn't matter?
I think that it gives them the opportunity to create more characters. Because, besides the fact also, like you were saying, where they're drawing these stories from the comics. Like, I went back and read the Winter Soldier graphic novel, and I cannot think of the writer, but he went in such a... That's the first character in a long time that was brought back that everybody thought was never going to come back. Like, it was kind of like Bruce Wayne's parents. Mm-hmm. Bruce Wayne's parents are dead. Like, there's an alternate universe where things happen, but for the most part, in every Batman story, the parents die.
I know, every movie that comes out about Batman, I have to learn about it again.
Yeah, I know. Remember when Ben Affleck was Batman and he flew for a second and we almost walked out?
He did fly.
Oh, it was so confusing. You know what? But that guy was going through stuff, and they had to switch out directors and whatever.
So, I get it. So yeah, I mean, so the interest in Marvel, or the interest in comic book characters in general, has increased. Does this do anything for aspiring comic book artists? Are we going to see more content created? I mean, we had the New 52 relaunch like 10 years ago now.
And then they already scrapped that.
And they scrapped, right. So, I mean, I feel like we're going to lose the original content and eventually get to a point where it's just TV and
Well, remember, they're doing that because people are intimidated by comics sometimes. Because sometimes when you pick up a story, you're 30 years into this story, and it's hard to start at the beginning.
Well established.
So this 52 jump is to try to get everybody on an even playing field about knowing about these characters. That's the whole game plan.
That was the point. Yeah, I mean, in the Marvel...
These movies, for the most part, you could just about watch any movie. If the first one for each character, you could watch that first movie and get an idea. You can almost watch Avengers without watching all the other ones.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're seeing more of a effort from Disney, certainly, and we've started seeing it from... I say Disney instead of Marvel because Disney makes all the decisions. And DC even. But the question we had in the beginning of the episode is anybody subscribing to the DC universe? I mean, they're obviously trying to provide more content than just the movies that are coming out. Because I think DC's like, holy crap, we're on a sinking ship. How do we get out of this? So they're coming up with streaming services. We've talked about before, just personal conversations, but everybody out there, if you've never seen a DC animated movie, they absolutely knock them out of the park every time.
Yeah, they could release the animated movies in theaters, and I'd probably go see them. Yeah,
they're genuinely what Marvel should aim for, and I think Marvel's actually been doing a better job of it recently.
Yeah. It's interesting because they keep trying to one-up each other, which makes just comic book fans the beneficiary of it. At the same time, Kevin... What was
Smith?
his name? No, not Kevin Smith.
That's the Kevin I got.
Kevin Hart?
Chirahara, the WB CEO, has completely said, we're done with this DCEU nonsense, which is not working. What they've said is that they will continue to do these, and they're tired of trying to form this world, and it's not really gelling. So what they've decided to do is they're going to do Wonder Woman, they're going to do Aquaman, they're going to do Shazam, and they're going to focus on telling these small character stories as opposed to trying to make a puzzle piece fit. It doesn't mean that they're not going to cross people over every once in a while, or someone will show up here, or they'll mention someone there. But as for this big group movie, they try to do Avengers too fast. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and I think that's just it. I mean, you think about Marvel had 8 years, more than that, but I will say 8 years to kind of start developing a idea of, hey, we're going to start pushing things together.
I think Avengers came out in 2012. Iron Man was 2008.
Oh, okay, so 4 years.
Yeah.
But they had time, and they didn't ever say, oh, we're going to have so much, like, they every once in a while drop, there's going to be an Avengers, or maybe we're going to get together. But they never said, like, this is it, this is our storyline, Avengers is going to happen no matter what, and every single movie we're going to start pointing towards that direction. Instead, they were like, let's focus on these individual characters who are strong characters, they built good relationships with the audience and the character, and then said, oh, by the way, here's an Avengers movie, have fun with that.
Right. They had Iron Man, which introduced Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm.
They had Iron Man 2, which was still before...
I think the end credits was kind of like the idea... Oh, yes, it was before Avengers,
Yes. And that introduced the Black Widow. They had Captain America, which introduced Howard Stark, which kind of gave... Tony and Captain America their connection. We had Thor, which introduced Hawkeye in the first one. So there's... And then the Incredible Hulk had Iron Man at the end with General Ross. So in those movies, they established everyone on the team.
Right. Well, but they never, like, forced it. It was never like, you have to know who Hawkeye is. It was like, oh, here's a picture of Hawkeye, and people were like, oh, crap. Like, they let the fans do all of the tying together. They were never like, you have to know who this person is, let me shove it down your throat.
I don't know if you remember Hawkeye's intro.
No.
It was in New Mexico. Thor was trying to get his hammer back, but he couldn't lift it. And Hawkeye is in this tall, and he kind of pulled back, and they told him to stand down, and he put the bow down. That was it.
Yeah.
That was all of it.
And that's all you needed. Because anybody that was already a comic book fan was like, oh, that's Hawkeye.
Right.
Much like the Endgame trailer, we've seen him as Ronin.
Right.
And any comic book fan or someone that's familiar with the material was like, oh, okay, that's Ronin, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing, though. We said, okay, that's Hawkeye. And anybody that wasn't a comic book fan, either A, went to a comic book fan and said, hey, who the heck is that? Which is 90% of the calls I received after that movie, or any movie, I feel like I get calls.
Fun?
Yeah. It's like when I work on I work in the IT department, and I get calls about technology from people that I don't work for.
I don't work in the IT.
Kleve does not. Kleve's the one that calls me.
I unplug things and plug them in just like you do.
But yeah, no. And then if you didn't know who he was, you either A, went and asked somebody, or B, you were just like, oh, this is a really interesting character. Maybe he's gonna show up again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it hurts comics. I get what you're saying, but it also. Did you know that there's a graphic novel about Nick Fury doing all the research to get the Avengers together before the Avengers movie came out?
Was that propelled by the movies? Like, was that...
It's like, it's almost like if you wanted to see how Nick Fury got there, like, it's intertwined with the movie. Like, it lines up with the movie. It's Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury getting ready to get the team together. But it never came out in video or anything like that. It's just strictly a comic. And that is one of the ways that they're kind of...
trying to tie it in.
There's an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comic.
Yes,
There's comics,
I do know that.
There's comics where the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. characters sometimes pop up in normal comics. I've seen them pop up in random Disney cartoons also. It's kind of weird. The Fitz and Simmons.
Yeah, it's really weird
scientists.
when Disney uses them in
they're so
other
wholesome.
capacities. But, yeah, I worry that the traditional comic book medium will no longer exist anymore. We'll eventually get to a point where already we have digital content where we have your Marvel and your DC have their own, not streaming, but like ebook service where you can go on their comic books and read. Marvel Unlimited. I was a part of that for a while, but they're like 9 months behind on comics.
Yeah, something like that.
So it kind of was frustrating if you wanted to keep up with comics as they were going.
It's nice to pick up a new story, though.
It is. It was really nice if I wanted to go back and say, oh, I didn't read all of Civil War. Let me go read Civil War again.
And you got to think about who they own, because I read a Darth Vader story for a little bit on there that was really nice, and it was interesting to read. But DC, I can't think of any stories to go back and read that way. But
if you ever need a DC comic book series to go read, the New 52 launch, this is for anybody out there, and I think you've read some of it, but the New 52 launch of Aquaman was actually really good. Everybody always makes fun of Aquaman, and everybody always makes fun of Aquaman, except for now that Jason Momoa is Aquaman, and now everybody loves him.
The Beast.
Yeah, but that's kind of what the comic book, the New 52, like that was the whole point. Like I think it was the first or second issue. Aquaman's at a sushi bar and was eating sushi, and obviously everybody's looking around, kind of murmuring like, "Oh, that's Aquaman. What's he doing?"
But you know, I feel like they already had an established version of Aquaman like that.
Yeah.
Kind of the rugged, long hair. He was just a blonde white guy,
yeah.
And they went a different route with it, which wasn't.
Yeah, no, I think Jason Momoa is kind of a good choice for them, I guess.
Yeah, you don't remember the strain?
No.
Okay.
It revitalized interest in Aquaman only because people wanted to see him shirtless. But anyways,
I mean, who doesn't?
I haven't actually seen that film, so
Me
I don't
neither.
know if it was good or not. I'll have to go look at it.
I struggle with him because I can't tell if they want him to be a serious character or not.
Yeah. Well, I would tell you, unfortunately, the DCEU has already turned me off from watching new content from them. Like, I'm not, like, when Marvel comes out with something new, I go see it within the week it comes out. DC comes out with something, and I'm like, I could probably watch that.
Well, I mean, just like Wonder Woman did really well. I think Shazam looks really
Wonder
good.
Woman was really good.
I just
Shazam
didn't get a chance to get around Aquaman.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't have that interest there, I guess. Although, another small fact, I think we've talked about this before. Black Manta is actually the first autistic villain
Yes.
to ever exist, or character, actually, I think. Also, Hawkeye is deaf.
He has that. He has a lot
Yeah.
of hearing.
So, these are two fun little facts for you that you didn't know you were going to get today.
You know what I appreciate too is, well, I do and don't. Black Manta, his race has nothing to do with the story they're telling of him. He's just a black character.
Yeah.
Still called him Black Manta, but whatever. It was a different
he's not like
time
a blue
then. I
Manta.
understand, like Black Lightning and Black Panther, and yeah, I get it. But it's nice that
Well, Panthers can be other colors than black, so he had to distinguish that he's specifically...
Right. Because I saw so many of them in that movie. In fact, they have a character called the White Wolf.
Do you want him to change the Green Lantern's name?
I mean, is that upsetting a specific race of people?
There's a Black Lantern Corps.
And they're all death.
Alright, you hear it here.
You know when you play chess, white side goes first. Just remember that.
I was just going to trade off.
Nope, white side goes first.
It's for intellectuals.
The only time that black is a good thing is when you're trying to jump off your car battery. That's it.
One time I was stopped to car died.
Oh no. That's black is negative on that also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's negative.
Money is what I was thinking. When you're in the black.
Yeah, if you're in the black, it's good.
Yeah. No.
Black Friday.
I had to explain that to him. It's not a good thing. Black Friday is a terrible thing. Anybody that's ever worked retail knows that.
I mean, it's good for businesses.
Sisters.
So that's kind of my concern about it, but we can kind of dive more into what the DCEU is doing because they kind of seem to be just dissolving in general. They're falling apart.
They lost Henry and Ben.
Thanos snapped his finger all of the Marvel. The DC Universe was the 50% that left was all of DC Universe.
No joke. How do you feel about, have you heard who they're talking about replacing for Batman?
Yeah, Robert Pattinson. That was the last I heard. I hope that's still accurate.
Is that the vampire?
Yeah, the vampire from Twilight.
I wasn't going to learn his name.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson from Twilight is going to be is the head runner for the new Batman.
Here's my problem with him. If you don't mind.
You only need what?
As your resident Batman fan. He doesn't make a good Batman or Bruce Wayne, in my opinion.
He could make a good
Dick Grayson?
kid from Batman Beyond.
I thought the werewolf guy would make a better
Will
Batman Beyond.
Yeah. I always pictured the guy from Batman Beyond being super twiggy and...
Oh man, broad shoulders.
Nah.
Remember that guy?
Oh, he did have kind of broad shoulders, you're right. But, okay, so... Yes, Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill both have quit. Have said they no longer want to continue. Superman, I don't think he gave any reason. Have you heard Ben Affleck's reason?
No.
He was on a talk show and essentially said he just couldn't do the character anymore because he felt he was not doing it justice. Like, he just outright was like, I wasn't doing good. I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
What's unfortunate is because the Batman vs. Superman, I liked him.
Yeah, we've gone on record before saying that we actually liked Ben Affleck, Batfleck.
Don't do that. Justice League Batman, however, kind of hurt my stomach a little bit.
I'm embarrassed to say that I still have not seen Justice League. I'm wearing a Justice League shirt right now. I still have not seen the Justice League.
He still had that, if there's a 1% chance, then it's an absolute certainty kind of mindset in regards to bringing Superman back to life, which was an interesting choice. Because one woman was like, hey, I don't feel like you're supposed to be bringing people back to life. That feels like a thing that gods do and not you. And that one was like, nah, I got it. Then, spoiler alert, Superman comes back.
I would have never known that.
He flies in and kind of has this save the day moment, like, and
those sound effects, by the way, are actually used in the...
Oh yeah, I did it. I got a credit. Oh, you
Yeah.
have to look. Don't check it out though. It checks out. Don't worry about it.
We've done all the fact checking you need on that.
Yeah. Stephanie concurred. You don't have to listen to her actually say it.
She's just nodding in the background.
And he gave like this smiling fist bump type thing. And I was like,
It feels right.
No.
Isn't he from...
How many times have you
Upstate
seen
New York?
Batman smile?
Isn't he from, like, upstate New York? I mean, I know they're not in New York. They're in Metropolis. They're in Metropolis?
Gotham?
Well, Superman, I meant.
Oh.
You said he did the...
No,
Oh,
Batman did.
Oh, okay, cool. That doesn't make sense.
Now you see why it hurt
doesn't
me.
make sense.
Because Batman, his whole thing is the intimidating cowl thing.
Yeah.
And when you're like, Superman's here.
Considering you spent an entire movie talking about how you wanted to remove him from Earth because he was an abomination.
The Lego Batman, doesn't like Superman. So explain to me why this Batman is pumped.
We were talking about how Warren does an amazing Lego Batman.
Yeah. Even the Lego Batman movies that were based on the games were pretty good. But, off topic.
Anyways. Yeah.
Those were better than the Justice League.
Yeah, no, but Ben Affleck genuinely was like, I'm not doing a good job, and I don't feel it's fair. I'm going to leave this position.
Did you hear the rumors for Superman?
No.
At one point, I might be dating how much information I know about this. Michael B. Jordan was being looked at, which is an interesting choice. You know what? At least you're giving it to somebody who would do everything he could for it. Not saying that Henry didn't, but he quit for whatever reason. I have to assume it's that it's the mustache evaporation thing.
Here's...
Because
when they
that
CGI'd his non-mustache.
That was the worst part. Even not knowing, you've not seen the movie and you know about that.
I know all about that. That's terrible. Michael B. Jordan's already had a chance at playing a superhero and it flopped.
But then he nailed it as a villain.
Yeah, so
and they're not going to use him again.
Let him stay in that universe and rest in peace wonderfully instead of being remembered as another flop.
That's better than garbage.
I'm just saying. Right now, he's coveted as a character in the MCU. If he goes to the DCEU, he will literally be destroyed.
So he should just never get another job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go do whatever else you want. Creed 2's coming out. Good for you.
I think it already came out. I don't know.
Did Creed 2 come out already?
I don't know.
I really want to see it, so...
If there was someone who could check that.
I'm checking it right now.
She's getting better. She already started checking. It's good.
She was looking at me when I looked at her to tell her. So at that moment,
I was pulling up my phone as soon as you started saying it.
But yeah, I mean, they're just not doing well. They're scared to touch Green Lantern because of that horrible thing. We already talked about how we didn't really like with
Came out November 21st of 2018.
Ah, Creed 2. Missed it. Redbox.
Yeah, at this point.
It was 84% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Dang! It wasn't a Rotten Tomato then.
I watched the first one and I liked it. I thought it was good.
I saw the first one on a plane to Japan.
All right.
So you have other projects going on, Michael B. Jordan. Please stay away from the DC Extended Universe if you value anything that is your career.
I was so pumped about Ben Affleck, man. I was really behind him. And then when he was going to direct it too, because I can't name all the movies he directed, but there was The Town. I don't know if you saw that.
That's good.
And there was
Good Will Hunting?
Gone Baby Gone?
Don't know that one. But
what's the one where his wife disappeared?
Jiggly.
Is that Gone Girl?
Yes.
Did he do Jiggly?
I don't know what you're saying.
Giggly? Stephanie?
What?
Jiggly.
I mean,
It's a movie. Hold on. Jiggly. Jiggly?
It's not. That's not how you say it.
Jiggly?
What is he saying?
He's saying it's like.
Yeah, okay, hold on a second. No, you say it, but you can't say it. Giggly. Jiggly, giggly. Jiggly.
It's Gigli.
Yeah. How would you say it, man? Giggly. Jiggly. It's him and Jennifer.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, Jennifer Lopez. Thank you.
Did he direct that?
I don't know. Did he direct that?
Well, then why are we breaking it?
I asked. I said, did he direct Jiggly?
Was it good?
It was awful.
Then probably not.
That's,
No,
I'm
because
just going.
He did not direct it.
that goes the opposite of what I'm trying to explain about his
No.
directing
I was
skills.
just saying, like, maybe he did that and like he's
No,
learning
he didn't
from
do that. He didn't do Reindeer Games.
do
He
Good
didn't
Will
do Jersey
Hunting?
Girl.
Good Will Hunting.
I had
He
a
was
friend
like
who was an extra in Gone Girl.
He was like someone's best friend in it.
Stephanie's famous.
What happened?
She's a friend that was in Gone Girl.
Well, yeah.
As
You
an
want to
actor.
come up to the couch?
No.
Talk about your experiences with that friend?
We were in Girl Scouts together.
What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Huh?
What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
I think I like the lemonade ones.
Those are really good. This is new to my world of cookies. I used to only eat the caramel delights or Samoas, depending on where you're from.
I hate those coconuts.
In California, they
Samoas
call
are
them
way-
Samoas.
Samoas are way better than caramel delights.
See? She knows. California's better than Texas.
Texas also sells Samoas. You just have to find the right county to do it.
Well, whatever county I live in
What do
is
you-
the county of hell.
Really? Every one that I've seen has them.
Yeah. Caramel delight.
No, caramel delight
you
is.
see Samoas everywhere?
Mhm.
I'm going to Arlington. I mean, not even going where you live. I'm going to wherever you live, Kleve.
You can come to my house. 123 North Drive.
Do you know why the cookies are called different things?
Racism.
No, but you're going to tell us.
Yeah, it's because they're from different bakeries. And that bakery has trademarked the cookie names, except for Thin Mints, because Thin Mints are trademarked by Girl Scouts, so they get to use Thin Mints. So there's two different bakeries that have to use different names. Fun fact. I didn't have to look it up. I just know it.
So yeah, Robert Pattinson's our new Batman. And
No, he's not.
Michael B. Jordan's going to be the new Superman.
He's gonna be that Val Kilmer level. I can feel it immediately.
Man, Val Kilmer looks rough. Anyways.
That's so out of shape. But if you're watching, man, thanks for
Yeah.
that nibbles. I think that was him. Or was
No,
that Clooney?
Clooney.
Doesn't matter. It all runs together.
He also had the Batman Discover card.
There's also no way he's
Or
ever
American
watching
Express
this.
You don't know, Stephanie.
card. Actually, Will Smith's a follower of ours.
Yeah, and what else is Val Kilmer doing than listening to our podcast?
You're not wrong. What else is you doing on a Wednesday?
In life.
Yeah.
What was the last thing he's done?
I think you had Snowpiercer.
Stop making up words.
That's a movie! I
Stop
know that
making up
movie.
things.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Don't look that up. It's not worth the Google.
Oh man, he looks rough.
Anyways, so yeah, that's where the DC universe lies.
Yeah, and I enjoy that they're focusing on these individual characters. However, what are we doing with this Joker movie?
Oh, it's so confusing because you have Jared Leto in Suicide Squad,
Right.
and you have Joaquin Phoenix in some new standalone Joker film, but they're also doing Birds of Prey, which is going to have Jared Leto as Joker.
And I assume Suicide Squad is also going to have... Suicide Squad 2 is also going to have Leto.
Insider news, our best friend Will Smith actually left the role of Deadshot as
He
well.
did. God, that movie is... The whole world...
Literally, the
is
DC universe
collapsing.
is crumbling at this point. Will Smith has said, I want nothing to do with the Suicide Squad. No reason why, just left.
I mean, do you need one?
Yeah. Because you signed a contract, so he's going to lose money out on it, so...
And Will Smith is not worried about money. I talked to him the other day. Perfectly fine. Alright. Yeah, this Joker
You
thing.
could just put up a picture of Val Kilmer on the screen. Whatever was
He
missing.
looks like he got beaten by a meat tenderizer. And I'm not pretty to look at when I'm saying these things, I'm just saying. The Joker, so the Joker film, sorry.
I imagine that he just went and did drugs. And so many of them.
Copious amounts of drugs. He was peaked
then how
off
did
of
he-
Top Gun.
But then how did he get so much?
Well, some of the drugs you take can really mess with that part of it too.
I don't know about those.
I've seen meth heads that are...
Have you?
I'm not a meth dealer.
Let the record show that Michael knows what different methods look like. But the Joker movie, it doesn't look good.
Their advertisement campaign has been really confusing.
You know what? It could have not been the Joker, and it might have looked like a good movie.
Agreed. And they could have done that, much like what Gotham did. Gotham went like 3 or 4 seasons with that kid before ever even getting close to saying, oh yeah, he might be the Joker. Like a lot of times you're like, oh, he kind of feels like the Joker.
Yeah.
But they'd be like, oh no, his name is something different. Don't worry about it. He's not the Joker. And I was like, bam, he's the Joker.
Nobody really references Gotham.
Yeah, nobody does. Gotham actually not terrible. It got better. After the second season, it got good.
I watched up to the second season. I don't remember it getting better.
After the second season, it got good.
That's what asking a lot.
Yeah, I watched like half of the first season and said, I'm out.
Why does he know Catwoman as a child?
Because they want to make Catwoman bat babies. At 15 years old.
Batcats?
Bat cats. Anyway, no, the advertisement campaign has been really weird because so they've had 2 trailers now, a teaser and a trailer. The teaser looked like they were just filming the movie. Like it was just footage of them filming the movie.
Yep.
And at one point while watching the trailer, it also felt like I was just watching them film the movie. Like it just looked so home video-ish from the 90s when watching that film.
Yeah. And let's talk about why the Joker is one of the better Batman villains. First of all, I will compete that Batman's one of the top characters that has the best villains.
In the DC universe, yeah.
I mean, maybe of all comics.
Yeah,
I would say
Spider-Man.
he rivals Spider-Man,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
Yeah.
Out of DC, absolutely. I think I can name one villain for every hero, maybe. I know more Flash villains because of the show.
Yeah.
That's about it. Arrow doesn't help because he uses Batman villains. Anyway, so
weirdly, why does he always use Batman villains?
I don't know. I told you it was really funny the universe where Arrow and Flash swap places.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
And
it, so
they're like they're talking about Batman, and Green Arrow's like, Batman's a myth. And they're like, are you serious? He was like, yeah, it's just something that the police made up to scare the criminals. And they're like, you're literally the same person as him. How do you not believe he exists? And he's like, what I do is different. And they're like, no, you do the same thing that he does. But what makes the Joker great, which is where I was going, is that there's a mystery to him. Nobody ever knows where he comes from. He just appeared one day. Even with Heath Ledger, which is the second best Joker, by the way. He just was there one day.
Number 1's Jack Nicholson.
That's right.
And it will never be anybody else.
You want to fight about it?
Yeah, a little bit.
He really comes at us with this Heath Ledger.
Remember when he pulls out this big gun, like out of his pants? That's the best.
And then shoots it, and it just a little bang.
Sometimes I'll go to Jennifer and I'm like, you are my number 1. Like he did his little friend. No, I can't remember his name. But
Just Jack something.
yeah, I think we'll just go with Jack. Jack's fine.
Yeah.
Let's don't need to look that one up. I see you were like so eager to get on your phone. But he's shrouded in mystery, and that's what kind of makes him great. There's a lot of characters work that way too.
Yeah.
Wolverine. The big thing about Wolverine is that you didn't know anything about him. He just appeared one day. When you start telling the story, you run into the fear of not
Demystify it.
doing it well.
Yeah, you demystify it. You have a well-established character, and now you're trying to cram an origin story into it.
In the trailer, there was one point where he was like a bank teller, maybe?
Yeah.
Somebody in the suit?
He also had some girl with him that he constantly kept saying, or not constantly, because it was like a 30-second or 45-second trailer, but he kept saying, I don't want to do this with anybody else but you, which feels like they're hinting at maybe Harley Quinn. But what would be annoying is Harley Quinn didn't meet him until he was well established as the Joker in Arkham Asylum, so presumably we don't screw that up, hopefully.
Arkham Asylum's where they keep all the crazies.
It's a good place. All the methods.
I think I found the niche of the video.
Yeah, no, it just, like I said, I think it really felt like a 90s movie. And it just felt like they were grasping at weird stuff. His makeup looks odd.
Yeah, and I can deal with the makeup. What time period is this movie?
Yeah.
Like, it looked like 80s, maybe?
Yeah, probably 80s-ish. But yeah, no, it just looked really odd.
Joaquin's a good actor.
He's a really big... Here's the thing. So far, out of the 4 Jokers, not counting TV series, and I cannot remember his name right now, but not counting the TV series, you have Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, Joaquin Phoenix.
Are you thinking Mark Hamill?
No. I'm thinking live action Adams.
Well, you were saying you couldn't think of what his name was.
Yeah.
So I was trying to help you.
Adam
West.
West.
Yeah.
Adam West's counterpart, and I cannot remember his name right now.
I was like, Adam West was Batman.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yes, he was Batman.
He famously didn't shave his mustache.
So out of those 4 in the movie universes of Jokers, Other than Jack Nicholson, I would tell you. Although Jack Nicholson's as close as could be without being, they're all hardcore method actors.
Yeah.
Jared Leto famously sent all of the cast of Suicide Squad random crap.
Didn't one of them get a dead rat or something?
Yeah. He would lock himself in a room. Same thing with Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger just disappeared off the earth because he was diving into the character. And Joaquin Phoenix is very similar because when he did the Johnny Cash film, he really dived into the idea that he was Johnny Cash and became kind of, unfortunately, a jackass when he was doing it. So they picked the right people to do it. It just, I want to blame it on writing material more than anything else.
Yeah.
Jared Leto was super upset. I mean, I didn't care for Jared Leto's Joker at all. It was much more of a thuggy gangster.
They went a different route with it, which I can respect. Like, okay, they wanted to tell their Joker, which is fine.
Right.
But now we're not consistently staying with that Joker.
Right.
Does Joaquin Phoenix's Joker turn into Jared Leto's Joker? Because they are two very different people.
Yeah, extremely different.
Not like the actors themselves, but like
the characters.
The tone of each of them. Right?
Yeah, Jared Leto's as much of a GTA gangster, whatever. Jack Nicholson, the reason I loved him so much was more of a kind of a mobster kind of guy.
Yeah.
Similar in that they were both, gangsters in ways, but different in that Jack Nicholson was much classier mob-style gangster. And then you had Heath Ledger, who was just a deranged psychopath. There was nothing else to it.
I think Jack Nicholson's Joker's the only one that really had like as much of an origin story as you can get because you actually see him turn into the Joker. But even then, they kept that of all of 10 minutes. Yeah. Then it was done. And now we have the Joker.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Jared Leto is super upset because they didn't use all of his footage. Mm-hmm. They had, famously, they have like a ton of footage that they just didn't use in the Suicide Squad. Whoever was the director of Suicide Squad basically cut out all of it and changed the narrative of it, and it really pissed off Leto to the point where he said he wasn't going to do Joker anymore, but I saw him in Birds of Prey trailer, so he is going to.
How do we feel about James Gunn getting a chance to direct Suicide Squad 2?
I think that's DC trying to grasp at whatever straw they possibly can to try to save their movies, and it's not going to happen.
To me, it reminds me of, how like the NFL will cut a player because it was a domestic dispute, like
it was like when we talked about them picking up Ravens running back. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like that. It's like, okay, well, we're a lower level team that can't afford to get talent like that. I'm just gonna pick this guy up real quick and take him over here.
Yeah, don't worry about those murders. That's okay. Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know. And I've gone back. I actually am more on the bring James Gunn boat than I have been before. I've pretty much, for the longest time, was very much against the idea of James Gunn coming back to Guardians of the Galaxy, and now have realized how much of a pause that's put on the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, they've.
It is coming.
The cast has said that they focused on other. That they've moved focus to other things.
They said they're doing Guardians 3. They've gone on record saying it's coming out. I think it's like 2021 now, but they said it's coming.
So as far as I can tell, they haven't even come up with a director at this point. I think they're still scrambling to find someone.
They've said we're not focusing on it right now.
So when we get a Guardians 3, who knows? But anyway. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 may never happen.
Another thought thing that I don't know if we're ever going to fit into another episode. Now that James Gunn is gone, can we undo his Groot tweet about Groot being dead and Baby Groot being his son?
Because that was the weirdest feeling.
Kevin Feige has gone on record saying, no, it's the same Groot with the same memories. He clearly doesn't have the same memories because he saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2. You know that he was an imbecile that couldn't understand normal words. So, does this make what he said canon now that he's no longer in charge of it?
I think so.
Just thought I'd bring that up.
Well, we'll see how much of his script they use.
It's nice.
It'll depend on that,
Yeah. It's nice to see a comic character die because you know how rarely that happens.
Agreed. But But yeah, with all this talk about extended universes, is there a particular, I guess, TV or movie series that you would want to have it in its own extended universe?
I thought of a couple. Have you considered it at all ever?
I wish they would have stuck with Parks and Rec and The Office being an extended universe.
That would have been fun. But then how would we
Karen?
explain Karen? And
Yeah, she'd be the only person you'd have to explain. Rashida Jones. That's actually why she was casted in Parks and Rec originally, was she was going to be Karen, but in the Parks and Rec world.
She's a nurse that's lived there for a couple of years. So. Interesting stuff.
What about you?
I wouldn't mind a 90s cartoon extended universe. Remember, like, if we did like
I feel like they've hinted at stuff like that occasionally.
Well, you know, there was... Marvel kind of did it with their original
Mm-hmm.
extended universe where it was Spider-Man, who could see the X-Men sometimes. And then they had their own Secret War thing. I don't know if you ever remember that. But, I'm thinking more of like Alright. I was thinking more of like the 90s, 80s cartoons. Thundercats, Ninja Turtles.
Here I am thinking like Hey Arnold and Rugrats.
No, I mean like...
Okay, well, you know.
I mean like a vast universe.
Obviously, Optimus Prime kicks Michelangelo in the nuts and
they've already...
Shell Time.
they already did like a Ninja Turtles extended universe with the different dimensions. They could do that with Power Rangers also.
They met the Power Rangers once.
Yeah, they did meet the Power Rangers once. That was when they had Venus the Turtle, who we don't talk about.
We don't ever talk about Venus the Turtle. In the future, we'll have an episode just about Venus the Turtle.
I don't want to.
Okay, that makes sense. The 80s, more than 80s then, I would think. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like late 80s, maybe early 90s.
The only people that mess it up for me is Transformers. I don't know where they would fit in this world.
Can you imagine Batman animated series and the Batmobile suddenly turns into a Transformer? Yeah.
Somebody draw that and send it to me. I don't know how you draw that.
You know, I mean, Disney does it, Disney does it, but in a way that like it's a rumor.
Well, and it's kind of subtle too. Like, even when they physically put characters in each other's shows or whatever, it's subtle. It's not like a
In your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they always hint. Pixar is really famous for doing that in all their films, where there's always something that ties them all together. But then you talk about like the newer Disney films, and you have weird things like Anna and Elsa's parents were on a boat going somewhere to Rapunzel's wedding, and their boat is the boat that sank in the beginning of Little Mermaid.
Alright.
So
I don't
like that somehow has been like pieced together by conspiracy theorists, I guess.
Yeah, that's more fan made than it.
I don't think so though. I think like some of it is like genuine canon at this point, which is weird.
Yeah, but sometimes the companies will be like, remember when they were like, oh, is that little kid in Iron Man 2 Peter Parker? And Marvel was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because why not? Go with it.
Yeah, because it worked out really well. So yeah.
But yeah, that was,
I would appreciate them mentioning that at one point. Like, Peter just being like, do you remember that time saving a life? You know what I mean? Like, it could just be a small little blurb in there, and it makes it real. As opposed to when fans just say it and they're like, yeah, you can have it. You can share. But that helps you sleep at night, that's the kid.
Yeah, those are some ideas. For those of you out there listening or watching, go ahead and let us know what extended universes you guys would like to see, and maybe we'll bring it up in the next podcast. You can always let us know down below in the comments. Or you can write to us at friendship.supreme@gmail.com.
We have an Instagram, which is @FriendshipSupreme.
We have a Twitter, which is Friendship Supreme without eyes, because all eyes should be on us. And you can always find our podcast at friendshipsupreme.libsyn.com. Also, anywhere you would normally find a podcast. So if you're listening to a murder mystery podcast and you're like, I gotta lighten up my night, here we are.
I have nightmares. Friendship Supreme.
And if you just need a friend on a Wednesday night, here we'll be, waiting for you. I'm Michael.
This is Kleve, and if you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight, I made it scary anyway. Bye!